Hi, I'm Dumbtruck DS, and welcome to something new. We recently surpassed 300 subscribers, and I know that's not earth-shattering really, but to celebrate, I'm going to start a new series of videos. Now, these aren't necessarily tutorials, although this episode we are going to kind of have some tips and tricks, but these might be reviews, they might be tips on how to run a mod or what have you. Thanks for subscribing and supporting the channel, and welcome to Giblets. Doom RO was kind enough to share his map Chapel of Darkness with me, and he posted it on Funk Message Board in the Screenshots and Betas forum. He had actually suggested in the comments to one of the YouTube tutorials that maybe, I should take a look at new mappers' maps and give him some pointers. And so I asked his permission. I said, hey, why don't I do that to your map? And he said, go for it. So I want to thank him for being so gracious about that. And let's get started. I'm not going to nitpick the entire map, but I'm going to focus on a couple of things here and there that will help first-time mappers right off the bat. So now, as you can see, I'm dead right here, and I'm going to hit restart, and we're going to see the first issue with the map. Okay, I'm not even going to try to defend myself. Okay, let's try that again. This time I'll move, all right? These guys are just all over me. Oh boy, I'm trapped. Now, I'm not the best player in the world. I always play in normal. I certainly am on the lower tier of players on Funk Message Boards, that's for sure. That's why I don't do Let's Plays or any of that. See, I'm dead. Okay, great. All right, so our first issue here with this map, and I have a feeling a lot of people might agree with me, is that you really should never have monsters attack you right as you spawn, unless you're going to spawn me with a better weapon. Yes, it's right across the room, but then I get trapped in here. A map has to be fun and survivable. In addition to experienced and really good, fast reflex, teenage players, you've got to let old guys like me have a good time in the map. Listen, if that's on hard, no big deal. So there's an easy way to fix this for players who play on easy or normal. You basically use spawn flags. I've highlighted the two knights here, and I'm going to put them not on easy and not on normal. And then what I'll do is I'll make a copy of them, and we'll have them join the dogs and the ogre a little farther away. And the spawn flags for them will be not on hard. So these guys won't spawn unless it's easy or normal, and these guys will spawn on hard. So that gives lame players like me a fighting chance if these guys are down the hall. This looks horrible. So I'm not sure this is a beta map, and so I'm not sure how far along Doom RO was when he was texturing, but that's got to be fixed. So yeah, what I would do is go ahead and just continue this texture on. And I'm doing that by shift clicking on this face and then alt clicking on this face. Now I'm going to give this away because it's kind of obvious. This is a secret door, and you can open this door, but not right here. You'd think, oh, I can hit an axe and it'll open, or I'll shoot this and it'll open, but it doesn't work that way. And without spoiling it too much, there's another area in the map where you hit a button and it's kind of a ways away from here. So that's probably intentional. And it is tricky, and I'm sure Doom RO kind of thought it through and everything, but I would always be careful with making a trigger for a secret kind of too far away. The players moved on and kind of, dealing with enemies and monsters and things, and then if they see some way of opening a secret, they may not initially just right off the bat remember that was that door. So this is a cool area. It's a cool fight. You can see the silver key is required to get in here. I have no complaints with any of this stuff. It's very cool. You can get out here. I don't want to give the whole map away again, but I do want to say there's a point in the map when you get up here. The problem is I got this and then I was immediately blasted off this platform by a splash damage from a rocket. And I couldn't get back in. Now, I don't know if there's a way back in. I haven't examined the map file, but I don't think there is. I was looking pretty hard and I'm like, well, I broke the map. I am stuck. So the way to fix this problem is by adding a clip brush to the area that you don't want the player in. And I'm just going to do this for the sake of speed, but I'm going to copy this guy and I kind of butt it up right to there. I'm going to put it up there. And you'd apply the clip texture to it. And what that does is it allows gunfire, but it won't allow a player. So in that case, when I was blasted over there, I would have just dropped straight down. I thought it was kind of cool. I could jump down on the roof here and run around. But Doomaro may want to put it right in here so that I can't get stuck down here. One more thing that can help new mappers is func_detail. So I'm assuming this map took quite a while to compile. Func detail is kind of an involved subject, but let's put it this way. Anything that doesn't seal your level in can be made into func detail if it's not already some other function like a door or what have you. You can't really do that with doors. Right click, create brush entity, func detail. And of course, I could have chosen like all this stuff because it's not really, it's just a feature of the level. It's not sealing up the level. We would not want to do it with that, right? That's the floor. That's, same with these. These are things that are the hull of your map. So you don't really want to make these func detail, but anything on the inside, all these grave markers, anything that's not like a plat, a door, some other func can be made func detail. And then that speeds up your compile times tremendously, especially Viz. And Viz, I haven't mentioned a lot of compiling, I just gave the basics, but Viz is a crucial part of the compiling process. But you can speed up Viz by making things func detail. In chapter 15 about releasing your map, I mentioned running your map with developer1 set as the console command. And what that does is it shows you errors. And I noticed a couple errors on this map where things had fallen out of the level or lights were inside of geometry. As you can kind of see, this wizard is kind of sunk below the geometry there. So you don't want that. All your entities need to be at least 4 units off of geometry. So in this case, I'm just raising this wizard up and then he'll show up correctly. Same with this guy over here. This is a platform that happens later in the game. And you notice this stark black lighting here. So there's 2 ways to fix the lighting on this plat. You can just put a light right there, a low intensity light, maybe 100 or 75 or something like that. That's one way of doing it. The other way to fix that weird black lighting issue would be to use min light on the entity. So now this is a brush entity. And what you would do is you would just add a key and it's underscore min light. And then you would add a low number. What min light does is it takes this number and the minimum lighting on this brush will be 75, now that I put it at 75. So nothing will be darker than 75. That will get rid of that black face on this brush. One thing I would say is to add co-op starts to every one of your maps. And all you need to do is put 4 co-op starts right near your info player start. It's very little effort to make some other players happy. Now, some of the things I loved about the map were kind of the texture usage and some of the geometry. This is a really great looking room. And I am kind of spoiling it because I do want to highlight it. It's really well done. I mean, super creative and really nice work in here. One thing I will point out is, and this is fine, this is a stylistic choice, but we're not seeing the entire texture here. And to me, it just feels like this thing's cut off. Usually the buttons are a little bit bigger. What you could do in this case is scale down the texture a little bit and fit that entire thing. Again, it's just kind of a stylistic thing. It's your choice to do that, but it's to me, this looks wrong because I'm so used to seeing this texture in a different way. Also on the side, you can see that this is being used here. And there's other textures that you could use for the sides of buttons as they stick out. It's a small thing. You can see some funky texture alignment there too. It's a small thing, but I don't know. Small things do add up eventually. That would be a good place for a fill light. Just a little light that's maybe intensity 15, 20, 30, 40, I don't know. Try that. One thing about the map is it doesn't have an intermission camera. You watch my entity tutorial part 4, which I'll link down below, and that will show you how to put an intermission camera in your level. Because I'm such a crappy player, it took me quite a few tries to get through this thing, but I did 100% it eventually. This is a kind of a horde style map where there's just a ton of enemies, and there's nothing wrong with that. I think there were only a couple of sections where there weren't enough ammo for me, a lame, player who would play on skill 1, which is normal. Maybe just a hair more ammo or a few less enemies, maybe just bring the enemy count down on easy and normal. And, there are different ways of balancing your map, But the best way is to get people to play test it and give you feedback. One other thing I will say about this map is that, right now all the monsters are just kind of placed in position and they're kind of waiting for the player. But in part 4 of the entity tutorial, I think it was part 4 or maybe part 3, I show how to spawn enemies into the map. And so then that way you can kind of pace the gameplay a little bit and not make it so hectic and have kind of fits and starts and kind of ebb and flow of gameplay as opposed to all this insanity happening all at once. There's no right and wrong way to do it, but you may want to try it. I was expecting a secret up here somewhere because I was able to jump over from here on the battlements. So, I don't know, maybe think of a 4th secret. But again, all in all, this is a fantastic first Quake map. It is a kind of a thrill ride and there's a non-stop action in it. So, but there's also a little tiny bit of exploration and some very, very cool secrets. So good job, Doomaro. But in general, it's really great. This is fantastic work.